The Bengals play the Browns for the first time this season on Sunday, and the timing of this matchup could not be more interesting to me. Yeah, Cincinnati might be the clear favorite on paper, but the Browns are way more of a wild card than they may look. And in this video, I'll explain exactly what the Bengals need to expect when they get to Cleveland. What's up, Bengals fans? John Sheeran of A to Z Sports Cincinnati here, and it is finally one of the most important weeks on the Bengals calendar this year. A trip up to Cleveland to face the Browns in a place where the Bengals have not won since early in 2017. That's right, long before Zach Taylor and Joe Burrow got to town. That was the last time the Bengals were victorious in the Browns' home stadium. But there's a reason why they're favored in this one. And the main one is, well, let's be honest, Joe Burrow is a hell of a lot better than Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is he is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL this year. It is reaching 2009 Jamarcus Russell levels of bad, and the Browns are continuing to stand behind him because they need to save face for some PR reason as to why they paid him $230 million guaranteed. It's a whole bunch of nonsense, right? Deshaun Watson is playing terrible, and he's one of the main reasons why the Browns are 1-5. But the timing of this is interesting because this is the Browns' first home game in a couple of weeks. Kevin Stefanski keeps saying that, Watson is their quarterback and they're going to stand behind him. The pressure has to be mounting insurmountably for that franchise to actually get performance out of their quarterback. And if Deshaun Watson doesn't play well in this game against the Bengals defense and the boos are raining down and they're losing to their in-state rival, I think this week could be the week where they make an in-game switch to Jameis Winston. Because at some point, if Deshaun Watson continues to play terribly, they can't have him start 17 games and expect to be taken seriously. They're already veering in that territory now where they're not being taken seriously, right? So if they are losing badly to the Bengals, or if they're just losing at all and Deshaun Watson continues to be, let's be honest, terrible, this could be the week where they switch to Jameis Winston. And if the Browns make that switch mid-game and the Bengals have to adjust for it, that is something that can completely alter what the Bengals plan to do defensively. They're obviously scouting to play Watson right now, and I don't really think they're planning on Jameis Winston coming into the game. But this could be the week at home in a very intense rivalry game where the Browns may feel pressured to actually make a switch. Now, it doesn't matter who finishes the game at quarterback because the guy under center is going to be able, for the first time all season, to hand the ball off to Nick Chubb. This is going to be Chubb's debut and the first time that he sees the field since last September when he suffered a really gruesome injury against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's going to be very emotional for him. He already wrote a piece in the Players Tribune about it. So he's going to be very emotionally charged no matter how many times he does see the field and actually touch the ball. And he's always done well against the Bengals. And their run game with their offensive line historically has always given the Bengals fits. The problem for the Browns, though, is that their offensive line is not nearly as good as it used to be. Bill Callahan is no longer coaching the offensive line. They suffered a lot of injuries this season. They're still dealing with a lot of that. So reinserting Chubb back into the scheme and still dealing with a lot of those issues up front, that's going to make things a little bit easier for the Bengals. But if Chubb rips off a couple of explosive runs, reinvigorates the offense, gets the crowd kind of into it, I'm not putting it past him to do that. So keeping a lid on Nick Chubb and not letting him, rip off some explosive, that's going to be key. But we just don't know what kind of Nick Chubb that we're going to see, and the Bengals aren't going to know until they face him on Sunday. But here's something the Bengals do know, and it's something I mentioned in the beginning of the video. This Bengals team, not a single member of this roster has ever won in Cleveland as a member of the Bengals. And it goes without saying that there is going to be a lot of pressure to change that on Sunday. Not just for just getting the monkey off their back, but the fact that they're 2-4, and if they lose this game, their playoff chances continue to go down the toilet. And when there's pressure, that's when you start to press. That's when you start to make uncharacteristic mistakes. And uncharacteristic mistakes were happening against the Giants last week when they were facing a really good pass rush. And newsflash, the Browns still have a really good pass rush led by arguably the best pass rusher in the game in Myles Garrett, who has always been able to sack Joe Burrow in every time that he's faced him. This will be far from an actual playoff game as both teams have a combined 3 wins through 6 weeks, but it'll definitely have that type of intensity and atmosphere. There's going to be a ton of pressure on both teams to get this win, and for the Bengals, if they don't win, the narratives of them failing in Cleveland continue, their playoff chances continue to plummet, and all that progress that they made in the past few weeks, aside from barely losing to the Ravens, it'll all be for nothing. But if the Bengals can compartmentalize all of that and get it out to an early lead and avoid a lot of the mistakes that they've been prone to make against this team in years past, this will be the time that the Bengals finally win in Cleveland.